Hi everybody, I'm Dr. Nicole Ginovardi and I'm here with you in our comp program orientation session for English 3010. In this video, what I want to do is present to you some interesting aspects of a pilot version of English 3010 that a couple of us piloted, when was this? Last winter? Winter 2020. Time has no meaning and everything's blurred together. But we are going to walk through some of the key changes in this pilot that have been designed, hopefully, to make our lives as teachers a bit easier when teaching English 3010, particularly when teaching it online. Though I believe that some of the tweaks in this pilot will be useful for teachers who are doing face-to-face work as well. So in this video, I have two main changes that I want to show you. One is in the project sequence throughout the semester, and the other is in the weekly schedule. So I'm going to switch over to my Canvas view so that I can start walking you through these aspects right now. Okay, I'm going to try not to be too tongue-tied for the rest of this video. First, what I want to show you guys in this Canvas site, and I'm just going to my course at a glance so that I can show you the 20,000 foot view here. So the first thing that I want to show you is the project sequence changes for this pilot 3010. A lot of it is going to look and feel almost the same, and it should, right? We should be teaching toward the same learning outcomes throughout every section of English 3010. So what you'll notice are just a few tweaks to both up the engagement with different modalities and technologies to have students really working with composing in multiple modalities. Another thing that you'll see is a bit of streamlining in terms of exactly what we're asking students to do. It all kind of gets synthesized together. But the one thing that you'll see here is that there's still going to be a personal research guide. One of the key differences in this pilot 3010 is that we set up Project 1 as a first draft of this personal research guide that we are encouraging and expecting students to work on throughout the rest of the semester. And the end of the semester assignments reflect that as well. So the end product is explicitly a website that gives an overview of the students' chosen discourse community, some of the key goals. This is, again, helping students to kind of take a bird's eye view to their discourse community and give an introduction to the concept of discourse community. They're taking a lot of the readings from this first project and putting them into practice when they're creating this site. Now, I'll just show you an example Project 1 from when I taught this pilot section. And if you've ever done a digital research guide in your 3010 course, this is going to look very familiar because this is essentially what the digital research guide is. This, however, is this student's final version. And so this student has had time to get feedback from both myself, their classmates, and to work on it and develop this research guide as they've learned more about their chosen discourse community through the course. A lot of the key markers are here, from having students go through discourse community characteristics to having them make multiple pages so that they can talk through lots of the key markers of participating in the discourse community. Then after they create this, the second project is going to be a research process synthesis, and the end product, instead of being a formal written paper, is a video presentation of their research in process. So 2 things that are happening here. First of all, students are being introduced to discourse-specific research and publication practices, just as they are in other sections of 3010. But because there's no formal written paper here, students are also introduced to a genre of academic composition, the presentation of research. So we talk about what it means to give a presentation of research in process, how important it is to be thinking through your research question, how that might have developed and changed throughout the course of this project. Now, some of you might be wondering, great, you want me to make my students make videos for me? How are they going to turn that in? Well, Canvas is pretty easy. This is an example of one of my students. She turned in the reflection paper, so there is writing involved in this assignment. But Canvas allows you to upload movies. Another option is that some students feel like they don't have enough space for uploading their whole thing there. They can do a link in the comments. So there's a couple different ways that students can go about turning in this video. This is not going to have them be coming up with any conclusions, but rather they're gathering, collating their research, their secondary research, to launch them into this 3rd project, which is going to look really familiar to you, because within English 3010 we always teach literature review, this weird academic genre that students find very helpful as they move on from English 3010. So this project will look very similar to literature review projects you've taught in the past in English 3010. The one thing I would say is that there are moments where you want to talk to students about this project as a standalone essay, whereas literature reviews are often a part of a larger project. So that's a good conversation moment for genre features there. And then finally, there's a couple of ways you can handle the end of the semester projects here. There's a reflective letter that hasn't changed either. Of course, we're in keeping with our course learning outcomes. But there's an opportunity to turn in that revised research guide. And so what you want to have students do is you could do it as a portfolio, as I have here, or some folks put it as part of the lit review, so that becomes, or sometimes you could do it like some people piloted it as like a separate assignment between the lit review and the final reflection. How you'd like to structure it is up to you. But either way, this gives students a chance not only to revise, but also to write up their rationale for revision, which, if we've been doing our jobs and giving them small reflective moments throughout the semester, they should have a good record of by the time they get to the end of the semester. Okay. So now I want to pivot to talking about the uniqueness of the weekly schedule outline for this pilot of English 3010. And again, there shouldn't be too much here that feels terribly different for those of you who've taught 3010 in the past. But one of the things that I do want to highlight, one of the biggest changes, is that the plan here is to limit your process-based assignments, your scaffolding assignments for students, to 1 per week. Now the rationale here, and as you can see, I've highlighted, there's just 1 writing activity per week. And the rationale behind that is multiple. First of all, we're thinking about teachers and how much other kinds of, how do I want to say this? There are multiple types of labor involved in teaching online, including stuff like creating course videos, making sure that you're posting announcements and updating things in your Canvas site kind of up to the minute, so that in terms of shifting the load, there's a little less in terms of formative assessment. But the other rationale that's really at the forefront of this change is that by giving students 1 writing activity per week, we also are allowing for us as instructors to give them higher quality feedback because we can focus on a narrower bandwidth in terms of what they're turning in. So that is something, and I just want to tell you guys, I wasn't super great at this. I ended up, in my version of the pilot, giving students 2 assignments per week. But that was because I just couldn't let go of my weekly discussion thread because I loved it so much. But I really just encourage any of you who are thinking about adopting this pilot structure, shoot for that 1 assignment per week, because it really does give you clarity and freedom to focus your feedback on what students are actually developing for their bigger projects. So not only is it a little bit freeing for your students because they only have one thing to think about and invest in per week, it's freeing for us as instructors because we only have one thing to think about and give really good feedback on per week. This also helps us with timely responses and feedback. Okay, so I think that's all I have in terms of stuff to show you. I'm going to pull back to my full view and close out this video. Okay, so again, one more thing I thought of before I close out is that as I am talking to you about this magical world of 1 assignment per week, I do want to mention that those assignments should and are in the pilot example syllabus quite layered. So if you're sitting there with a little bit of anxiety rising about like how will I have them held accountable for the readings, etc., you can structure those weekly writing assignments to require students to pull from readings or synthesize aspects of the assignment, the bigger assignment that you're working on. So I just wanted to mention that. I want to thank you for your attention today, and I will say if there are any questions at all about anything I've presented, you can email me at ngvardy@wayne.edu. I know also Ruth, who is here, she piloted with our group, so she might be able to answer questions from her own experience, but feel free to email me if you have questions or if you want any of the materials that I used when I taught this pilot of 3010. If you'd like to be an early adopter of this pilot version, you can let me know or Ruth, and we'll make sure that you get the materials like the syllabus template and that weekly schedule that I showed you guys earlier. I hope you have a great rest of orientation and a great start to the fall semester. I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.